Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we want to welcome you to our Thursday evening training so that we can all learn what the business is about. We learn about the products and we learn how to build our business, and we also learn how to build ourselves. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the next speaker, the founder of our business, my best friend, the mother of our 4 sons.
And a daughter.
And a daughter, I'm reminded. So I'd like to welcome Betty to take us through the product session.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us once again this evening. It is, as always, our pleasure to spend this time with you. And as always, we really hope that the session is going to be beneficial to you. As Pascal said, for those of you who have only lately joined us, my name is Betty. And both of us, Pascal and myself, are always very happy to have this opportunity on a Thursday evening to have this training session in which we do our best to share with you our understanding of our Neolife products as well as how to build our businesses. And you might have seen from your invite that today I'll be doing a Q&A about weight management. Actually, I'll mostly be focusing on weight loss because the question, I think I've only got 1 or 2 questions of late about people who wanted to gain weight. And it was not so much to gain weight as to have muscles, that is in the bodybuilding area, which I'll not venture into. So most of what I'll be dealing with is about weight loss. And the first thing I wanted to note is that our bodies have this ability to store any extra food that we eat in form of stored fuel, such as fat or small amounts of sugar. And we store them in fatty tissues, which are located in different parts of our bodies. It can be under our skin or around our hips, and also it can be around our abdomen, our midriff. So this is, of course, a very useful and protective mechanism which our bodies have to ensure our survival during periods of food scarcity. And we know that in many parts of the world, food scarcity has been greatly reduced. But unfortunately, here on our continent, we still have areas where there is still scarcity of food, and we go so far as having starvation, which is an unfortunate situation, which I hope and pray that with time is going to be eliminated. But to turn my attention to weight loss and the maintenance of a healthy weight, the first thing to note is that excessive fat deposits in these tissues, the fatty tissues in our body, is often associated with serious health problems. For example, problems to do with the functioning of the heart, problems to do with our blood circulatory system, as well as such disease conditions as diabetes, and so on. But most of the time, the reason why people are concerned about their weight is only secondarily the health issues, but more about self-confidence and self-image, which also forms an important part of our personhood. And so we don't overlook this because our appearance is an important part of who we are and plays an important part as a first impression that we give to people that we meet. And of course, as distributors or in the Neolife business, we usually are the window into our business. So our personal appearance plays an important role in our business as we approach people. So when we go online and in other sorts of media, we find a lot of information concerning weight loss, and quite a bit of the information is contradictory, and sometimes we are left wondering what to believe and what not to believe, because we will see these very slender-looking people who promise us that if we take this or do this, we are going to look exactly like them. And after putting much effort in that area, we find that it does not happen, and we become disappointed, and sometimes we might abandon the whole thing. But the thing to understand is that this is an important health issue, and as Neolife distributors, our main concern is the maintenance of healthy weight rather than to be a certain, fitting in a certain dress size or something of that nature. Our main concern is the ensuring that our bodies have a weight that is healthy and that that our organs are able to function well. So with this out of the way, the introduction, I want to go into some of the questions. There have been quite a number of questions. So what I'm trying to do is to collect them under like one question and then speak about it and then move on to something else. So the first one that I receive very many times is, which is the best weight loss diet? And my answer for this is that the best weight loss diet is the one that we can adhere to long term. Why? Because we can embark on any diet, as probably some of you, if you're like me, have been struggling to maintain a healthy weight, and we've tried a number of things with varying degrees of success. And after a while, we might abandon it because it is too difficult or because we find that it is challenging many different aspects of our lives. And so we find that it may be working in one way and not working in another way. So for that reason, the best weight loss diet is the one that we can stick to, because very often it takes time. And apart from that, we don't only want to lose the weight, we want to maintain a healthy weight. So most of the popular diet that we find, for example, we have got the low carb diet, which for low carbohydrate diet, which was quite popular for a while, and I think still maintains some popularity. We also have the calorie restriction diet, where you count the diet and you eat meals according to a certain number of calories. We have the vegetarian diet, where you limit your food intake to mainly food from the vegetable plants origins, and maybe only allow some eggs and dairy products and fish and so on. So we have that kind of a diet. We also have what is called the Mediterranean diet, and so on. So if you have been interested and researching in this area of weight loss, you'll get lots and lots of different popular diets. Some of them become very popular and then they lose popularity and so on. But in my opinion, the best approach is to try and find healthy strategies. All these diets that you find will have certain aspects that will conform with a healthy lifestyle. So we should look at the healthy strategies to determine which one we can use on a long-term basis and to which we can adhere. And so if you are a person who is very careful and can count and weigh count calories and weigh your food, then you can opt for the calorie counting method. If you are not that kind of a person, you may decide to limit the amount of carbohydrates in your diet. Or if you're a person who finds that taking large amounts of meat in your diet is problematic, you may opt to going vegetarian. But whatever the case is, as always, our main interest is to maintain good health and healthy choices. So whatever you choose, keep that always at the back of your mind. Whatever you recommend to your customers, keep that always at the forefront of your mind. And the reason why I do not select a particular diet as the best one is because weight loss and diets are very subjective. What might work for one person might not work for another person. And that means that whatever we choose, we should try to tailor it to ourselves, to our lifestyle, our needs, our preferences, and so on, because that is going to help us to stay on that method of eating or dieting. So with most of these diets, as I've said, you are going to be able to lose weight. I cannot promise what amount, but you will lose weight. What becomes a problem is whether it is possible to maintain the weight loss. Because a lot of time, the biggest complaints that we hear from people is that they lost the weight, but then they gained it all back and some extra amounts on top. So always in the weight loss area, we must think about the maintenance of the lost weight. Then another question that is I've received fairly frequently is, which fat deposits are associated with health problems, with serious health problems. So this question comes in many different ways, but the gist of the question is all fat unhealthy? Because I'm sure you have had, you know, or have heard of people who are fairly big, but they are healthy and they are able to maintain good health in spite of their weight. So in answer to that, the most dangerous problematic fat deposit is the one that is located within our abdomen, that is inside the cavity of our abdomen, not just under the skin, but inside. This is called visceral fat. So it is inside once you pass the skin and go further into our gut. That is where it is located. Is located. And the problem with that is that it then encases the crucial organs within our abdomens and can make them not function as well as they could, and in fact can even lead to them misfunctioning, which then leads to sicknesses and the lifestyle illnesses that we often speak about, like heart problems, like cardiovascular problems with our blood circulation, and problems with our liver, and so on. So this is the worst fat. And of course, by looking at ourselves, we cannot tell whether we have got a large amount of this visceral fat. It would require to see a doctor who will be able to do some imaging, which will show how the fat is distributed within our abdomen. But one simple thing we can take as a caution is if our waistline is becoming larger and larger with time, it could be a warning that we are getting too much visceral fat. And so the measure that is an easy measure that we can use just to give us an idea, not that it is so accurate, is to measure our waistline. So the measurement of our waistline should be half of that of our height. So that can tell us whether our waistline is beginning to become too large, which could be an indicator that we are getting this dangerous type of fat, and it should be a bell to warn us to start taking measures. So that is the answer I give for that question. And then another question is, which are the worst ways of eating that contribute to us getting unhealthily overweight? And that is, I think, one that we have answered severally on different topics that we tackle. So we know that eating a diet that has a lot of processed, prepackaged foods can contribute to excessive weight gain, because most of the time we do not know what goes into the making of this food. They're already very well packaged with very beautiful looking packages, but we don't actually know what goes into there. Another problem, addition to our diet in excess, is highly refined grain products. These can be problematic, and they can even lead to problems with our metabolism. Then another is taking large amounts of refined sugar, especially the easiest way to take large amounts of refined sugar is if we are drinking sweetened beverages like sodas and fruit juices and so on, sweetened fruit juices. These are problematic foods. And foods which are deep fried in factory fats or which are rich in these fats can also contribute to us acquiring excessive body weight. So these are some of the problem areas. And also what we note is that the farther we deviate from our ancestral diet, the harder it is to maintain a healthy weight. And you might have noticed this, that the more we, for example, we of African origin, many of us are of African origin, I'm sure it's not all of us, but many of us of African origin, when we really embrace the Western diet, the typical Western diet, we find that we struggle to maintain a healthy body weight because we need to eat in a way that is also familiar to the way our own systems have evolved and the way our system is familiar. So for example, if I take the example of a person from the Maasai community in Kenya, there are people who have traditionally eaten large amounts of protein in their diet in the form of meat and milk, and small amounts of carbohydrates. If as a result of change in lifestyle, they start increasing the amount of refined carbohydrates in their diet, what they would notice is that they start gaining a lot of unhealthy fat because this diet doesn't quite work for them. So that is just an example, but if we generally look, the more we have deviated from our traditional diets, the more of the overweight condition has become common among us, especially for those who are well off enough to afford to eat as much as they would like. So those are some of the things that contribute, the worst contributors to an unhealthy weight gain. And then another question was, how does our traditional minimally processed food help us to maintain a healthy weight? So I think this is something I often mention, that we should try to keep to our traditional minimally processed foods, especially when it comes to grain foods. And this one, I think I also mentioned it on the session when we were speaking about diabetes. So here the answer I would like to give is that these types of foods are more satisfying because they give us the satiety signal. What I mean by satiety signal is that our body has got signals that tell us we have had enough to eat. And these signals originate from different places. I'll come back. I think there's another question along those lines where I'll speak more about that. So these foods are more satisfying, and we don't need to eat a large amount of them in order to get that satisfied signal. Also, we have developed over time with our ancestors eating these foods, and so our bodies are able to work with them and remain healthy. Also, many of these foods are grown within our vicinity, so we are able to eat them in their fresh conditions or minimally processed, and for that reason, they will be more nourishing for us. And this means that one of the ways which our body signals to us that we have had enough to eat is when our body is aware that we have the nutrients that we require. Then there are signals that tell us we no longer need to eat anymore, and we feel satisfied and we leave the table. And we know that one of the main problems that lead to excessive weight gain is eating more than we need to be eating of the things that we don't need more of, because our body is trying to get some of the things that we are not getting. And so the body drives us to eat more in the hope that we are going to get the nutrients that we require. So that is how our traditional foods help. We have evolved with these foods, and our systems work better with them, and they give us a signal that we are satisfied, as opposed to some of the foods that we are not traditionally used to, which we may find that we are able to eat more and more and more until we are overeating. Then there was a question about what is the difference between hunger and appetite. So appetite is simply the desire to eat. It can be in response to hunger, but it can also be in response to sadness, or it can be in response to just giving ourselves pleasure. So for example, if a child is sitting somewhere quite satisfied having had lunch, and they are watching TV, and then an advertisement comes on TV, like maybe advertising soda or some fruit juice or something like that, they may then suddenly think, oh, I'd like to eat that. And so they come to the mom or the person who's looking after them and say that they would like something to drink because they are thirsty. But the reason why they now think they are thirsty is simply because they saw something which looks nice to drink, and so they want to drink. And the same can happen with me. Let us say that I'm walking down the road and I smell someone is making some nyama choma. And then I might, even though before I was not hungry, but when I smell that nyama choma, I might start thinking, actually, I would like to eat. So appetite is when we simply want to eat. It could be that we are actually hungry, or it could be just that something seems to be nice and we want to eat it. Hunger, on the other side, is a biological thing where our body gives us signals because it wants to alert us that we need to bring in more fuel or more nutrients for our bodily needs. So hunger is physiological. It is actually a signal from our body that it requires us to take in something. So it is actually important in maintaining a healthy weight to know the difference between appetite and hunger, because if we eat according to our appetite, sometimes it can be one of the things that leads to us gaining weight. Also, being aware of hunger will make us know when we have had enough to eat. But if we are simply eating for pleasure, it's hard to know when to stop, because we might just continue. These days, there are very many pleasant things to eat, and we can just keep on eating them. And a lot of the foods that we enjoy eating have been manufactured after much research in laboratories to ensure that we want to eat them because they have what is called hyperpalatability. It is that thing about food that it makes us really enjoy eating it, and we can just keep on eating it without feeling like we need to stop. So that is the difference of the answer to that one. Then another one was, how can we achieve and maintain a healthy weight? I think this came from someone who has been struggling with this issue with the gaining and losing and gaining again and losing and so on. So as we say, the best approach is to look for lifestyle changes that we can sustain in the long term by replacing unhealthy habits with healthy ones and replacing problematic foods with foods that nourish, because by making those changes, we are going to be working together with our body. And by giving our body what it requires, we will have lesser cravings for those foods that cause us problems. So another thing that we can do in maintaining a healthy body weight is to ensure that we include exercise in our lifestyle, because even though exercise cannot help us to lose weight if our food choices are bad, exercise can actually do a lot to help us in maintaining a healthy weight once we have reached that healthy weight. So as we are trying to lose weight, we should include exercise. And once we have reached our goal weight, we definitely need to continue exercising, because it does a lot in helping us to maintain the healthy weight. So unfortunately, if we have lost weight and then we return to our unhealthy habits, what is going to happen is that we'll regain the weight that we had lost. Let's see, what are some of the reasons why we gain weight? Because some people have raised the question why maybe after they were slim before they became mothers, this is especially ladies, and then after having 1 or 2, 3 children, then they notice that they start struggling to maintain a healthy weight, so they start gaining weight. And others, maybe after menopause or as they reach 40s and middle age, they notice that they start gaining weight that is hard to lose. And this is because as we age, we tend to pick up a little bit of weight every year. And over time, of course, this is going to become more and more apparent. And by the time we reach the middle ages, then the weight becomes noticeable. And also it becomes, in many cases, it is more difficult to reverse the weight gain. So it can be a matter of age. It can also be a matter of that our metabolism changes a little bit as we become older, and maybe as a result of having children, our metabolism can actually change. We can also acquire some unhealthy eating habits. Maybe as time passes by, we have got a bit more money and we start eating maybe things which we prefer rather than things which are the best for us. So habitually eating unhealthy food can be at the base of our gaining weight, unhealthy weight that is, and snacking as well as eating continuously around the clock can also contribute to the problem. So it is a good habit to avoid eating between meals so as to give the body time to a break from dealing with food, and also give our bodies an opportunity to draw out the stored fuel in the form of fat from our fatty tissue. Another thing that is related to that is that if we eat large meals very close to bedtime, then most of the food in that meal is going to be stored as fat. And because we are simply going to eat and then we go to bed, so we are not going to use much of that energy for our activities. and that can contribute to gaining weight. So it's good to eat the larger meal early enough during the day before it is close to bedtime. Then another area which can lead us to gaining weight is when we are using food for the wrong reason. So for example, if we have an emotional problem, maybe we are sad or something like that, we might find that we go to food for consolation because it makes us feel better. This can also be as a result. I know that many of us, well, let me not say many of us, but for myself, one of the things that would happen when you are young, when you're a child, is that if you are upset or unhappy, you might be offered something to eat because it's something sweet or something that you like, so that you can feel better from that sadness that you're feeling. And we can carry this on as something we do to deal with sadness. Unfortunately, food does not solve emotional problems. It may make us temporarily feel better, but in the long run, it can actually be problematic. So eating food should be in response to hunger. That is the reason why, the only legitimate reason why we should eat. Okay, mindless eating is another thing that can lead us to gain weight. Let's say if we are eating while we are watching TV or while we are relaxing. This, I think, is a common thing. If we are together with the family and we have got time, we are hanging out together, having a nice time, a lot of time food is involved. And we might not be very conscious about whether we are full or not, because if the food is nice, the company is nice, we might tend to overindulge. Then a sedentary lifestyle is another that can interfere with our satiety signal. So if we are not moving around, because movement does help us in the area of maintaining a healthy weight, not only because it helps us to use up energy, but also because it makes us more sensitive to the signals that the body sends about energy and about nourishment. So if we notice that we are not moving a lot, we should look for ways to increase the amount of movement in our life. I see my time is running out. There was a question about why do we get food cravings? And what I wanted to point out, that we never seem to get cravings for healthy food. The cravings tend to be for unhealthy things, maybe sugary things or very salty things and so on. But the cravings are usually an indication that our food choices are causing us to have a nutritional gap, which our body is trying to close. And so I think from there, let me go to our products that can help us in the weight loss area. And the first that we recommend is Pro Vitality and NutriShape, because these are our baseline supplements which make sure that we close any nutritional gaps that we have. And the reason why this is important is that one of the reasons why we overeat or we have food cravings is that our body is looking for certain nutrients which it is not getting enough of. And so it drives us to eat in the hope that we are going to get our nutrients from eating more food. So by giving this a good baseline nutrition, NutriShake will give us good quality proteins in our diet. And Pro Vitality, of course, is a combo that has got it has got the threonine, it has got the carotenoid complex, it has got the multi. All these play an important role in making sure that we have the nutrients that we need. Then the next one that we have, just to say that if one wants to lose weight, then the NutriShake or the Neolife shake can replace 1 or 2 meals, depending on a person's preference. And then the next one is Amitone, which is an amino acid preparation, which helps us to avoid muscle loss. Because one of the things that happens is that if we are on a very strict diet, our body may start burning our muscles for energy. So by taking Amitone, we make sure that we've got amino acids that protect our muscles. And the reason why we want to protect our muscles is because the muscles play an important role in the burning of fats as energy by our bodies. Then we also recommend adding multimineral alfalfa, which is a broad spectrum mineral preparation, which helps us to avoid feeling weak and dizzy or nauseous when we especially when we start on a strict eating program. We may find that we get headaches and so on, and this could be because we are either losing fluid or because we are not getting enough of the minerals that we require. So we add multimineral there. And I would also like to say we can add Neolife tea, which is a tea blend that is an adaptogen and helps us to maintain good energy levels when we are restricting our eating. Then I also recommend the multi-fiber blends, the different fiber preparations that we have, the all fiber or the fiber tablets, because the fiber plays important roles not only in our sugar metabolism, but also in maintaining a healthy, friendly bacteria population in our gut. And we have mentioned on other occasions that the friendly bacteria like to eat food which is minimally processed, and the unhealthy ones like sugar. So by having this adequate fiber in our diet, whether through supplementation or through our diet, we are going to have the friendly microbes which are going to help us to avoid those cravings for problem foods like the very sugary things or the very salty packaged foods, snack foods that we may have. Okay, unfortunately, I see my time is up and I'm now stealing Pascal's time. So I will have another Q&A at some point to answer some of the questions that I thought we might get to. But for now, I want to thank you for your attention and to pray that we are helping you to reach your goals in this month of July, that things are going very well for you. And hand you over to Pascal, who is ready to speak with you about team building and other important aspects of building our business, and in participating in making our world a healthier and wealthier place. Here is now Pascal, ready to take you in the next session.
Thank you very much, Betty. I think that those sessions, as I sit next to her when she's doing the meeting, I also learn a lot about the products, because I know a lot. Sometimes distributors have questions about products. If I can't answer, I pass it on to the experts. So in this session, I want to share with you a few ideas that will help you build your business. I remember reading an article about golf. And the author of the article was saying that if a golf player quality of golf goes down, they always go back to the basics of how to play golf. The same with basketball players, the same with soccer players, the same with any sport or anybody who wants excellence. If they want to really have the top of their game, they have to go to the basics. I remember after Tiger Woods had been playing and he became the top golf player in the world, he lost his edge. So his coach told him, okay, just go back to the basics. First, perfect your swing. Once you do that, things will correct themselves. So the basic of our business that will really give us the edge of how to build this business. One of the keys to the business building is called inviting. So I want to share some few ideas about inviting so that we can, if you give me a moment, I want to share the slideshow. All right. The key to a successful network marketing business is inviting. Inviting simply means that you look for and ask those questions that will reveal to you and the prospect what our business is. We'll reveal to you if this is a prospect, a good prospect or not, and we'll give the prospect an idea that this is a good business. You know, the prospecting process, the first step about prospecting is name list. You need to have a list of names. Number two, inviting. Inviting is a gateway to building this business. If you invite prospects correctly, they will come to the business presentation, and if they open their ears and their eyes, they'll actually be able to see the value in the business. So the process of building the business is very simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple. Build a name list, learn how to invite properly, professionally, show the business using the system as much as possible, follow up, and then close the prospect. Those are the essential steps of prospecting. Now, let's get a bit more detail about inviting, because inviting is inviting is a key to successful building the business. The inviting is a four-step inviting formula. Step number one, create a rapport. That means create a connection with your prospect. Why is that important? Because people will only listen to people they trust and people they like. If you do that, you will find that your prospects actually listen to you. So step number one in the inviting formula, create a rapport with your prospect. That means have an emotional connection with your prospect. Give a sincere compliment, find common grounds, ask great questions, and genuinely get to know the people you are speaking to. Now, let me talk about giving a sincere compliment. Sincere compliment simply means if you meet, let me say you meet somebody and they've dressed very well, you can comment, look, I like your shoes or something like that. Give a sincere compliment to something you can actually observe. Don't make general statements like, you look good. Every human being looks good. I mean, we are all a gift of God, and we are the most marvelous creation in the universe. Okay? Giving a sincere compliment means that you've identified something positive in a prospect or somebody you're speaking to, and you mention it very specifically. That is giving a sincere compliment. Finding common ground. Finding common ground simply means you mention something that both of you have in common or you can share. Okay? If you're talking to somebody and they are talking about their lives, or you're talking about something you observe, you can actually find something that both of you have in common. That gives you a platform to start exchanging information. Then ask great questions. Great questions are not closed questions. Great questions are questions that ask the prospect to actually open themselves up. If you ask somebody, do you want more money? That question will either say yes or no. But if you ask a question like what do you do? A question like that, you cannot answer yes or no. A question like that, the person has to explain what they do, or say, oh, but I am a builder, or I'm a civil engineer, I'm a plumber, or I run my own business, I run a salon. That question is open-ended. It means it requests the prospects to explain a bit more than yes or no. So think about the questions that you need to ask that are great questions. Genuinely get to know the people. You see, one of the deepest needs of human beings is to be known. That's a very deeply rooted need of every single human being, to be known. Because to be known is to have your humanity affirmed. So genuinely get to know your prospect, because that, in fact, it makes you become a professional listener. One of the greatest things that creates healing in people's heart is the capacity of being listened to. The other day, I had a problem with my phone, so I took it to Vodacom, and the lady I spoke to, the first thing he asked me, let's address your problem first. And she asked me a series of questions, and I felt this lady really listens to what I'm saying. And we need to be like that. We need to be able to ask people questions that they know that you genuinely care about them. So the first step is create a rapport. Second step, discover the need. How do you discover the need? You discover people's need by asking those great questions. First of all, observing people. You see, because of the experience Betty and I have had in a long time, we can look at somebody's physique or skin type and we can mention something about them which is fairly accurate. I remember 2 days ago, I was going to meet a prospect in a restaurant, and I was passing, I saw a lady sitting down, and I could see that a lot of stress in her face. So I asked her, my lady, you seem to be very stressed. What's the problem? And she says, oh, my child is really ill, and I've just been seeing a doctor, and they gave me, and the child is very young, 4 weeks old. So we got to talk. I asked her what she's doing. Because of my going to different African countries, if somebody speaks, I can tell what region of Africa they come from. So she told me she's from Cameroon and all that. Eventually we exchanged contact, and 2 days ago I shared the business with her, and she's very excited about the business. So discover people's need by asking great questions. And after hearing the need, don't jump immediately to asking about the business. Telling them about the business. Go deeper into what they have told you. What do you mean by that? Can you tell me more? What's that like? Have you tried? So the reason you keep asking those questions is to really know the person's need so that you can accurately invite them to see the business. Then share your story. And your story is your story should not take more than 3 to 4 minutes. Okay? And your story has got the following. Number 1, tell them what you are before you joined the business. Number 2, how you came to join the business. Number 3, what the business has done for you in terms of finance or in terms of a product. And number 4, how do you see the future in the business? You will notice that people who know how to tell their stories have all those 4 components. Then you go to number 3. Number 3 is the inviting step. If I will you, for example, if I've got a prospect, is to ask, if I send you this video, will you watch it? Or if I give you this information, will you watch it? Great. Then they will ask, if they say yes, then you say, well, great. When do you think you can watch it? That question is designed for the prospect to actually commit themselves. You don't want to commit the prospect. You want the prospect to commit themselves. Great. So when do you think you are going to watch the video? Or when do you think you're going to have read the magazine? They will give you a time or a date. And then you say, okay, then if you are going to watch it this evening, can I call you tomorrow at 10 o'clock to discuss further in the business? So it's actually 3 times you're asking the prospect to commit to watching the video and to expect your follow-up. Okay? So when they say, I'm going to watch it tomorrow, said, okay, so if I call you tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we can discuss more about the business. They will tell you yes. Said, oh, then before you close, you say, okay, so I'll call you tomorrow morning. Let's discuss more about what you have seen, and if you have any, I can follow up in what you have watched and how to take the discussion forward. Note that on your diary, and the next day call at the agreed time. This is a 4-step inviting formula that I think is very, very powerful, because inviting is a key. If you know how to invite properly, you will find that a lot of your prospects actually will want to listen to what you say. So that's about how to prospect, the inviting formula. The next thing I want to share with you or discuss with you is dealing with no's. I know a lot of us are afraid of people saying no. In the beginning, when I started the business, I was very, very excited, and I saw the business very clearly. But when people did not respond the way I expected, I got quite disappointed, and I would ask myself, why is it these people don't see what I am seeing? Gradually, I came to understand that this business is not for everybody. Anybody can do it, but it's not for everybody. Number 2 is that people are at different stages of actually getting to do the business. Okay, so first you're going to hear no's because that is the nature of our business. Not everybody is going to join your business. Remember, you're looking for business builders. You're not looking for everybody. Okay. Secondly, no does not actually mean no. No could mean, sorry, no doesn't mean no. No could mean that they haven't understood what you're saying. They haven't understood what you're saying, or they're not ready. It's not time for them, or the business is just not for them. Number three, a very important point: detach yourself emotionally from the result. In fact, you need to say internally in your mind that maybe it's for you, maybe it's not for you. And I find that when I tell prospects, maybe this business is not for you, a lot of them quite get surprised because they expect that I will start arguing with them. I think the worst thing you can do with a prospect is to argue with them why you are right and why they are wrong. You're just pushing them away. A way to deal with that is to tell your prospect, maybe it's not for you. Okay? Detach yourself emotionally from the results. If you do that, you will find that you actually appreciate the yeses and the nos in the same way. Number four, speak to your growing upline. If you feel really disappointed, speak to your growing upline. 5, constantly read good books and listen to CDs so that you can develop a strong, powerful, positive mental attitude. That is the way you overcome negative no's. And I think no's is not something we need to fear. No's is something we need to embrace. Remember, no is a gateway to a yes. Don't think that when you ask a prospect, it's either yes or no. Remember, no is the platform or the gateway to a yes. If you think about it that way, you will be very glad about the no's that you get because it will tell you, this is not the person for the business, let me go to the next. Okay? Then the next thing about teamwork. Teamwork is very critical. It's a saying that a teamwork means a dream work. It's very important. This business, you can never do it alone. Nobody has ever managed to do this business on their own. You can actually build your business to director without a team. That means you have to be very good in sales and doing 4,000 PV every single month. But beyond that, you can't do it yourself. You need a team. That's why Sapphire Director, you need another director in your group. Okay? So, how do you build a good teamwork? Number one, create common vision. You need, if you're a leader of your team, you need to have a vision and share it with your team. All right? Remember, you've got your personal goals, but you need to create a common vision for your team. 2, treat your team with a great respect. You see, people will appreciate when you treat them with respect. Okay? Number 3, team identity. You need to have a specific identity for your team. I mean, in the business, you already realize that different teams have got different names. The Eagle team, Team Sunrise, that is our team, and Betty, the Golden Eagles, the Marshall Eagles, the Power team. You've got different teams in the business. So have your own team identity. That's very important because every human being looks for a place to belong to. As everybody has got a sense of belonging. That's why, number one, we have a family, which gives a specific identity. Number 2, we have our own nation or we have our own region. It's important to have a team identity. Number 4, communicate your team to build trust. There is no shortcut to this. Building trust means people can, there's a difference between being dependable and being trustworthy. Trustworthy means people can count on you. Dependable means that the things you say actually happen. It's very important to be both trustworthy and dependable. Number 5, keep a high morale. When you're feeling down in this business, you speak up. That means you speak to your growing leader. If you feel down, if you feel excited, speak to your success line. That is the people in your team who are building a successful business. It's very important that you don't pass anything negative to your team. If you've got something to complain about, if you're going through a lot of challenges, speak to your upline leader, all right? And then recognize your team. This is very, very critical. One of the things that human beings crave for is recognition. So recognize the people in your team. If they've done something, however small it is, send a message of congratulations. Send birthday messages to your team. Do whatever it is so that people actually know that you recognize us first and foremost as human beings, 2 as friends, 3 as business colleagues. If you do that, you build a very, very strong team. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are the few ideas I wanted to share with you. I hope they have been of some benefit to you, and we look forward to achieving your goals for the month. Today is 21st. You still have almost 1.5 weeks of work to reach the month end, and we want to wish everybody success in all their undertakings for the month of July. So I want to hand over back to Alan or Paul. We want to thank you very much. We really appreciate the time you take to share this evening with us. So thank you very much. Good night and God bless.